Welcome to another edition of the Calgary Sessions. This is episode number 11. I'm your host, Jeff Humphreys. Today's guest, and I say this every episode lately, but him and I go way back to grade 7. I don't know how old we were, but that's how far back we go. This will be a really cool conversation because what he's up to today and what he's done in the past is very relevant in today's world. So I'll let him introduce himself, name, and where he's working.
All right. I'm Dan Belkie, Everything Cloud Technologies, CEO and founder. Funny, how many years grade 7 is?
Well, how old were we? 11? 12?
I don't know. It was 32 years ago.
No way.
32.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. And I'm not mathematically inclined. So as you know, but I did it before we got here. Cause
crazy.
I'm thinking, how long has this been? So.
And the it's just all these early shows, almost 1 to 11, all I'm doing is getting good friends that I've known forever, get them to sit down, and because they're all, I'm lucky. A lot of people I know are doing some really cool things. So that's why these conversations are so fun, because 32 years, like, it's easy for me to sit here, and I'm guessing it's pretty easy for you to sit there and just. Honestly,
last night I'm sitting there, you talk to your wife, and it's like, I'm not worried about this at all. I have no angst at all.
Yeah. But. It's so this is 32 years in. When I think of over those years, there's the one story that I go to is and we'll get to this, but your mom and dad had a business when we were growing up, and you'll tell the full story, but I remember I bought my first computer off your parents. and driving down here, I remember that I paid, I think it was either $500 or $800 to get a burnable CD-ROM in my tower. And that was in, I don't know what year that was, but that's it. You've been a part of the tech world for so long. I learned a lot from you, just like being around it. But anyways, a $500 or $600, $700 CD burner, it's ridiculous what was happening.
You know what? I actually remember. I remember being in the basement of that shop and you coming downstairs, and I remember putting it in, it was like dual layer or something.
Crazy.
It was,
and it was just, again, we'll get into this, but it seems like everything you've been up to over, for a long time, been on the tip of the technology. You've always been just a little more ahead than everybody else. And this computer, and like I said, we'll get into it. That setup there was like crazy back in the day. So what I want to do is I like to take the guests back as far as they want to go. Talk about growing up. Dan is a kind of he is a serial entrepreneur. He's had his hands in a bunch of things over all these years. So just what'll be interesting is just go back as far as you want to go. And I'm really curious to see when your head started to waver from, just messing around, snowboarding or whatever to, the business world, any of it. So go back as far as you want. It doesn't really matter.
If you want to talk about being a serial entrepreneur, grade 4. That was probably when it started. Me and a buddy, Corey, who you know. Yeah. Do you guys remember? Do you remember back in the day, like the skateboards, when the wide skateboards came out?
Yep.
And there was it was cool, right? But there was like the Kmart boards, and then there was the ones from the skate shops, right? Yep. So we had these ones from these skate shops, and there's this kid, and he didn't have one, right? He had like a Kmart board. So we said, hey, listen, we can hook you up. So what we ended up doing is, we took his skateboard home, took the trucks off, took all the wheels off, all that, and then we sanded it. So we got rid of like the cheesy graphics, awesome. Right? And then we brought it down to the store was called Freewheelin'. Oh yeah, back in the day, and had them re-grip tape it, so brand new grip tape, full whatever. Yep. And sanded it, and then we bought a whole bunch of stickers, some big stickers, and we put it on, and honestly, it was amazing. And in my opinion, we saved this kid.
Cool.
We kind of, and lo and behold, on the door, and it's his mom. And she's like, your son ruined my kid's skateboard. I paid good money for this thing.
No way.
Yeah. And I don't know, do we charge him? I don't know. Maybe it was like $10 or something. We just wanted to do it. Right. So, honestly, I think that's kind of where it started.
Crazy.
And then if I want to jump ahead into technology.
But where did you and I went to school together, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Mm-hmm. And, when I first met you, you were like big into snowboarding.
Yeah.
Snowboarding was your jam.
Yeah.
And, growing up junior high, we just, life was pretty simple. I don't know if we were thinking about business or things like that. But, when you got to high school, and I guess for me, going to high school, I was horrible. And it's really funny. My mom dropped off all my old report cards a couple of weeks ago. I knew I was really bad at high school, but I was really bad. I'm going to start taking pictures and posting it, but I was getting, like, no joke, math 20, I got 44 on the final.
Really?
Like, I was really, really bad at school.
So was I.
So here we are in high school.
Yeah.
Shitty students.
Yeah.
And the only class I did good in was VisCom.
Yeah.
I got 94 in VisCom.
Ditto.
And, we went to these guidance counselors and they're trying to, help us make a decision at university or what to take. There was no path that made sense to me. And I was confused for probably 20 years. Like, I didn't know what to do.
I'm still confused.
So in high school, if you're, a shitty student, and then what are you thinking? Are you thinking, I just need to get this done so I can do something?
Absolutely.
Or what? Yeah?
Yeah, I absolutely. For me, I absolutely hated school. It didn't matter what I was doing outside of school. If I was working, I didn't mind any of that. I don't mind labor jobs. I didn't mind anything. I just wanted to be doing something. And what I used to do is we went to Mary's downtown. My dad's office, before it was in that house, was right across the street. I don't know if you knew that. On 17th Ave, there's a credit union, or there was one there.
Yep.
It was in that building.
No way.
And at lunch, I used to go over there, grab his minivan, and go up and pick up stock for him, and then like bring it back to the store.
Crazy.
And I think my parents were pretty worried about what I was going to do too. One day my dad brought me down to the trades office, like downtown. I guess they have a trades office, but they're not really like trades. They're like head office. He walked in and he was like, "Hey, can you talk to my kid?" And they're like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Cause I think he knew, like,
school wasn't be your thing.
Yeah. It's not my jam. So anyway, as you know, snowboarding, et cetera. Like I hated technology, to tell you the honest truth.
No way.
I picked up stuff and that was the labor. But then probably my real introduction into technology was, as you mentioned, my folks had a company called Micron Technology that built computers. And then they had a storefront called Computer Connection. And my brother would sit in the store, like that was his jam. But then he decided he wanted to go back to school, right? And so, we're all small businesses, right? So my dad's like, well, what am I going to do? Right? My brother's going to go back to school. You can hire someone, but what's Dan doing? So he says, hey, go sit in that office.
And what was this, in high school or was this after?
This is after. This is 95.
Okay, so right after.
Like right after that.
And how long your parents had those two? Like, did you grow up with your parents owning something all, like, from a young age? Have they always had their own thing going on?
Yeah, ever since I can remember. And I think you just nailed it, right? That's why I think I am the way I am. My folks had a computer store in the 80s.
Crazy.
And you know what is crazy? It was Apple clones. So like, what's an Apple clone? Yeah, I have one in my garage still, actually.
No way.
Yeah,
crazy.
And it's an Apple clone, and that's what they sold. So yeah, it's been forever.
And all in Calgary?
Yeah, all in Calgary.
Crazy. Okay, so this is where I kind of knew a little bit about the story, but I don't know the full story. So you're growing up in this environment where your parents are they're running their own businesses.
Yeah, and I absolutely hate computers. Like, I'm like, this is lame.
Do you think you hated just to spite them because you knew what they were involved with so deeply?
No,
or you just didn't like. There's nothing interesting, video games, whatever.
Nothing. I mean, yeah, I played video games. I had a Nintendo, just like everyone else did. But what became interesting to me is when the internet came. Like, to me, a computer, all that was where I typed an essay, which was school, which I hated. So I'm like, I don't want it to do anything to do with this whole computer thing.
So 95.
Yeah, 95.
Graduate high school. Your dad's like, okay, you're going to come sit in the front of the store.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like, what are you doing? So, okay, great. I'm going to go sit in the front of the store. So, and I'm by myself, right? So I go to the store and I'm sitting there and like, IT guys, right? They're like, they're like spiders. They're just trying to kill each other. Or they're like, I'm smarter than you are. So probably for about a month, I just got my ass kicked. Every day.
And what was the job? Like, were you
sales?
Really? So somebody walking off the street?
Yep. Hey, I'm looking for, and this is like, right, Windows 95 was just coming out.
And the internet was just launched.
Just.
So there's no Googling. People are literally looking in the phone book and walking into your.
Exactly. Or they're driving by and they see the sign. They come in. They say, "Oh, I need a Pentium 2 gigs of RAM." Like it was just, whatever. And I had a price sheet of, this is what memory costs if someone wants to buy a stick of memory. Mm-hmm. But I'm by myself. Guys are coming in. And I mean, honestly, like, thank God my dad did this for me, because I'm sure people left there going like, this place has no idea. Like, how are they even selling this stuff, right? Because they were in a separate building that built the computers.
Okay.
And then so they were all, everything was all custom built and et cetera. So I didn't want to get beat up anymore. So I started buying magazines and reading. So then now it was like, as you know, I like people, right? And then I started talking to people and getting them to talk. And then, I also found that, and I think this has served me well in my career, is that you don't have to have all the answers, and people are willing to give you that knowledge if you want, right? Yep. So fast forward a little bit, I'm working the store. I'm comfortable now. Internet's come. And now I'm like, okay, this is not a job anymore. Like I like this internet stuff, right? But this is back in the day of the modem. Yep. And modems were notoriously hard to set up back in the day. Like, they wouldn't work, they disconnect, they connect. And so I kind of took it upon myself to be the guy that set up the internet. So I would call up CADvision. Do you remember CADvision? Yeah. I'd call up CADvision. I'd get an account for the user, because, people will come in and say, "Oh, I'm buying this computer and I want internet." Mm-hmm. Great. We'll configure everything up for you. We'll just get you the account. You pay them. Everything will be good. Yep. Right. And I said to my dad, I'm like, we should be making a deal with CADvision. Right. And you got to think, so at this point I was probably like, I was young when I finished high school.
Yeah.
So,
you and me were both 77s.
Yeah. So we
started a year early.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Which I don't know if I would do again, but maybe that's why we were so crap at school. Right. But anyway, so I called up CADvision and I said,
you're probably 18,
maybe 18, 17. Cause with you,
graduate 17. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had to wait till February.
Yep. I'm January.
Oh, there you go. Right. So like you can't go to the bar. You're just like,
all of it.
Exactly. So we lived the same life. Yeah. And so I called CADvision. I say, "Hey man, like we're giving you all our customers. Can we cut a deal?" And literally I just wanted like, "Can you give me a free account or something like that?" Mm-hmm. And they're like, no, we don't do that. And it's funny because the truth, looking back, I didn't talk to the right person. Right. I talked to like help desk or something. Right. Yeah. But it just enraged me. So I go to my dad and, obviously you can tell by the pedigree here, I didn't go to university. Yep. So I go to my dad and I say, "Listen, I think we need to become an internet provider."
No way.
Yeah. And he's like, "What?" And my brother was like a Novell administrator, but he was going back to school for, theater, sound and lights and stuff. So, he was busy. And I'm like, I don't know, how are we going to do this? So I can't believe it, Jeff. I convinced my dad to spend $20,000, right?
To put in the infrastructure?
Yeah, in the 90s, yeah. And it was just like, modem pools, old modems. And so, we got that. And we were lucky because we had the hardware. So we did it. And the truth is, I floundered so bad. Like, I bought books. I didn't...
Like, it's way over your head.
Oh, totally over my head, right? And I would say, that would be my advice to anyone that's looking to do it. Just do it. Just do it.
It's so cliche to say it, but...
Yeah. But I mean, do it, but expect it's going to hurt. Yep. Like that's probably the advice. So I set up.
So hold on, because I was in that basement. Yeah. So paint the picture what this looks like to be an internet provider, like the physical picture of what you actually put together.
Yeah. Okay. So we're in a house, right? And this house is probably built in like 1910.
800 square feet on the main floor.
Tiny little rickety house, and kind of right down the street from the back alley, if you know where that is, right? So I go in, and my parents actually had the basement dug out. It didn't have a basement; it had a crawl space because in like 1910 they weren't towing foundations, so it was dug out. And when you go into the basement, it looked like a military bunker. It was concrete floors and just rows of fluorescent lighting on the roof, which is like, I'm lucky I'm not blind or like whatever, right? And so literally what the internet provider looks like is we get fiber run to the house. Like it's like a fiber line that comes across McLeod Trail into the house, and into the basement, and I literally went to Canadian Tire, bought, some plastic racking that you put in your garage. And we bought this thing. It was called a Portmaster. It was a Livingston Portmaster. And, you put that in, and it's got a bunch of serial cables that come out for external modems.
Yep.
So phone line goes into one side of the box,
yep,
and like 30 modems are connected on the other side. And literally they're just sitting on shelves.
Yep.
And you can sit back and you're watching the lights and you're like, oh, someone connected. Oh, someone's connected. But this was the magic, right? It was like, man, like we're doing it, right? That's the successful part of this. Yep. The part that wasn't successful is actually, I tried and I tried and I tried. Because there's so many things that have to go here. Yep. Authentication, like, because you have to sign in. How do you set that up?
Yep.
Right. So I'm reading books, wasn't working. Then we called the company back and we said, can you give us a document? Can you help us out here? And they said, hey, there's a guy up in Lethbridge, and I'm going to get you in contact with him because he's a customer of theirs too.
Yep.
So he bought the hardware. He came down and he tried to set it up and he couldn't get it going. So he's like, just wiped it clean and he built it like from scratch the way his was. Perfect. Right. But here is where the magic happened is that he built it. He built it for us. And so we're running, customers were on it. And because we had access to hardware, I cloned it. I built my own setup next to it. And I like, look at what he did. I look over here, look at what he did. And like, it wasn't a night. It was like months. And my parents would come to work in the morning and I would have been there all night, just all night in the basement, just reading, whatever. And, you kind of go a bit Looney Tunes because I'm yelling at the walls. I'm like, I did it. I did it. And that was the start.
Crazy.
Of the internet. Yeah.
So then people would they would buy the computer and then they would say they need the internet, and then you would sell them. You were the Shaw or the TELUS.
Yep.
Back then.
Yeah. And it was called Ultralink. Was the name, Ultralink. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Which then sparked into another company called Hosting House.
Yep.
Which, hostinghouse.com. I let it go, man. Like,
so the timeline. So what I want to articulate here is how early you were into this. Like it's mind altering that in this little house you were essentially providing internet to customers.
Exactly, and that's why I say just do it. Like, you work in larger, and I've worked in large organizations. It's never as slick as you think it is. Like there's always someone sweating and grinding. And so
crazy. So how did it grow? How did you guys, so back then, like I said, the internet's brand new, dial up. Some people probably have no idea what dial up actually means and how slow it actually was. But how did it grow? Like I'm really, it's,
well, hold on.
And then how's it turn into the different versions?
Well, yeah. So essentially the truth, it didn't grow. Right. We serviced our customers, and sure, we had some, rural customers, and, I think it was successful, but it was on the cusp of Shaw and TELUS, cable and DSL was coming. And as soon as that came, it was over. Right. Which is, I think, okay, because the industry was completely changing. The internet was now being serviced by the big guys, which it should have been. I mean, it makes sense, right? So that kind of hurt our internet business. We had our loyal following, which is great. But then also computers changed too. Like no one was building computers anymore.
Everything changed. What was the moment, or what was the organization that changed it from, like, was it Dell?
Dell, yeah.
Dell was
Gateway.
the thing.
Do you remember Dell Gateway?
Yeah.
The cow looking box.
So all of a sudden you could buy technology just kind of out of the box, kind of an easy process versus doing full custom.
Yeah, and I think the business limps along for a while by saying, but on that Dell, if the video card goes, you got to replace the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah, well, no big deal. But so, we limped along probably like that till about 99. And at that point you're going, okay, what's going on?
Yep.
And
were you, if you started working there in 95, so you're there for like 4 or 5 years, do you start feeling that you can help your parents change the business? Are you looking at it like, I'm taking this over, or this is a family business and I want to do good by my family? Like, where's your head at? You know what?
I wish I could just say like, I want to do good by my family, which, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love my family. It was, they've got me to where I am today. But I didn't have any of those thoughts. I think I just was trucking along. And I think I was, at that point, I'm probably now 22.
Yep. Still young.
I'm still young, and I'm just like, I really don't know what I'm going to do. And I have these aspirations that the .com, right? So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to think of an idea. And there was always that entrepreneurial. So there was Ultralink and then Hosting House. So now we were doing hosting. So we we're kind of limping that along now. Oh, now I want to do this.
Yep.
Right. And then my dad had some health problems. So it was like maybe time to wind down this business. And so at that point, that's why I went to the Forzani group.
Oh, okay.
They called me up and said, hey, we're going to launch sportcheck.ca. And you and I were talking earlier about all the things you do in your life to prepare you for what's next. And like, now I'm like corporate, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, this is cool. Like sportcheck.ca. Like this is the only, Canada's largest e-commerce site at the time.
Early, right?
At the time. It was 99. Yeah. 99, 2000.
They've been doing it that long.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so I joined them.
And then, sorry, you fast forward this part, but this one's interesting to me because I used your services, the hosting house.
Yeah.
So web hosting, everyone that has a website obviously has to get hosted by someone. Back in the day, I can't remember what website. It might have been my like jeffhumphreys.com when I was going to school. You might have hosted it. But how, you guys did that for, I can't remember what it was worth, but I think I know what it changed. Like Bluehost came out, whoever came out, and then went from $25 a month, and these big guys are charging $7 a month.
Exactly.
That was the change.
Exactly. It was just.
And how many clients do you think? Do you have any recollection of how many people were on those servers?
Yeah, I mean, from a dial-up internet provider, we probably had like 50, 60 customers.
Yeah.
But they're all paying you $20 a month.
Yep.
But you're really servicing your own customers. And then websites.
It got pretty big, didn't it?
Yeah, it was, probably had like, 40 websites on there, 50 websites. We had multiple servers, but like 3, not like 20,000, but 3 servers and things like that.
It's so weird because this is, I said it earlier, that VisCom class I was in was the intro into computers for me and kind of the graphic design creative piece. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, I remember you're working at this shop and you're doing these technical things using this computer device, and it was always cool to see. Like, it was fun going there and spending too much money on computer parts, but then to go downstairs and see behind the curtain what was going on was always. Yeah, I can just picture it. I can picture it so clearly, walking and going down this weird stairwell to the back. Like, it was just, it's such a fresh memory for me being, all these years now. It was really cool. And those computers, I just, I think I bought my first computer, and then I could start doing my graphic design. So it's like, it's so bizarre how it's all tied together.
And you know what's really cool? If you go there now, that house is a company called Borrow Coffee. Borrow. And so I went in and
no way
bought a coffee.
Crazy.
And I said, hey, I used to, work here. And they're like, what is with the fiber lines in the basement? And there's like Micron Technology stickers on the walls and like
crazy,
and so, they didn't let me go in the basement, but they did, I went in the back, and they're a coffee roaster. And it's because we had mega power, right? We had to have power.
Everything was trenched in. So they were,
so it's a coffee roasting.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So to switch to the Forzani's group, was it literally because the family business is winding down and you didn't have an idea, or did you feel like you need to grow under a big operation?
Yeah, I think it was both. It was both. At that point we were winding down. I think we knew that the computer stuff was winding down, and my folks were going to get out of it. So we had to make a decision. If myself and my brother, or maybe my sister, or so, like, are we going to take over this family business, or are we going to go out? And actually, what had happened is my sister actually applied at Forzani for the e-commerce group, and they liked her. So she said, they're like, oh, we're looking for an administrator, someone that knows the web, and but also knows servers, right, and kind of can play the middleman. And so she said, yeah, you should talk to this guy Dan Belkie, right? And so it's funny, you hear how I said that, right? You should
don't mind his last name.
Yeah, right, because she was married.
Oh,
right?
Wait.
Yeah, so she didn't. So she didn't. They didn't know we were related. Right?
Crazy.
And like literally they sat, my sister and I, we both got jobs and we sat this far apart from each other.
No way.
And in kind of a cube of like 4 people or whatever. And, my sister was married, so she wasn't living at home. And then I would, I would go to my mom's for dinner. Or no, sorry, I was living at home.
Dude, you're living good.
Yeah. And so my mom would bake cookies or whatever, right? And I'd come in the morning and I'd give her, hey, Teresa, here's some cookies, whatever. And people are like,
what's this guy doing?
What's up with these guys? Like little office romance going on.
She's married.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
This young kid is kind of
yeah. My sister's like 4 years older than me, right? So they're like, wow, what's going on, Dan? And so one day we came clean, and people were like, like I get it now.
So funny.
Yeah.
So, and how long did you work there?
Probably till about 2006. So 5-6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 5-6 years.
And so during that stretch, you obviously got to play in a bigger space.
Yeah.
A bunch of infrastructure.
Yeah.
A bunch of technology. Did you think you were going to be in it for the long haul? Like, did you have a plan, or were you like, this is just what I'm doing now?
No, at that point I knew, honestly, I thought I was so cool. Like I was like, man, like I made it.
Just because, steady paycheck, a big e-com presence, big technology piece in the back.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm here.
And I kind of feel I'm living a little bit of the .com dream, right? I'm kind of feeling that way. And at that point, I was making more money than I'd ever made. Mm-hmm. And a brand. Like, and then I think that's what I was chasing is more of the brand. Like, cause even you saw even doing it today. Sportcheck.ca. Yeah, totally. People, everyone knows who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's what.
So you wanted to, you're there for 5 years. Were you thinking the entire time I'm here for the long haul, or what happened? What was your exit?
The exit was, and you come from this world too. You come from a digital agency. So the developers of the website they were Blast Radius,
right,
out of Vancouver, Toronto.
Yep.
Right. So, I was talking to them, and they said, "Hey, man, we really like working with you."
Because it's an interesting skill set, right? Like to have what you to find somebody that had web knowledge. As stupid as this sounds in today's world, this was a real thing back then. You were so early in it to have. For someone to understand the web and understand server structure and how it all works together was, I'm sure, a rare talent. So Blast Radius poaches you.
Yeah. And so they said, hey, do you want to come work with us? So what their idea is the way it worked, and this was my role at Forzani, was they would do the web development and then we would build the server and run the server. But it didn't really work that way. Chances are you just hosted it at TELUS, and TELUS's data center. You rented the hardware from them, and I might be involved in like patch management and like just like deep IT stuff.
Yep.
But then Blast Radius said, you know what? We should offer this service to our customers.
So build the website and then host it to have the monthly income coming in, and to be in control of the environment. So they can make better updates quicker.
Exactly. And so, and you mean you've lived in this world, like you're always pointing. The developers are like, it's the servers, and the server guys are like, it's the code.
Yeah.
And so they're going back and forth. So now the thought was, this is one throat to choke. Yep. So this was the introduction of, Blast Radius's managed services. So,
gotcha.
But the shtick was that it was in Toronto. And so now that's big, right? You're kind of like, man, like, do I really want to move to the big smoke? I mean,
because you're like born and raised here.
Yeah.
And everything is here.
Yeah.
All of it.
All of it.
Family, friends,
everything,
all of it. And this will be fun anyways.
This will be fun. I know where we're going. So it was big, right? So I don't want to get like super personal, but my dad had Parkinson's, right? And so do I go, right? And then I talked to my mom, and my mom's like, if your dad found out that you didn't do something because of him, he'd be pissed, right? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going, right? And I remember it like yesterday. It was January 4th. I jumped on a plane and I went to Toronto, and I was like going to work the next day, right? Like I didn't even. And so they had rented me a condo.
Yeah,
like I'm big time, Jeff.
Yeah, you were there. you peaked early, buddy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm thinking this is huge. So I got there, and if I could have got a plane home that night, I would have.
Dude, it's so funny you say that. You can continue the story, but I'm just going to interject quickly.
Please.
When I moved to Toronto to open up an office for Critical Mass.
Exactly.
Me and 14 people, we volunteered to go open this office out there. So this is back in, I don't even know, 2000, 2001. And, you know, I born and raised in Calgary. Everything's here. Hockey was kind of over. It felt like it's time to go. So I go. The minute the plane lands was the minute I'm like, oh, I fucked up.
Totally.
And literally, it like the wheels hit the ground and we come screeching to a halt. I'm like, this is the wrong move.
Yeah.
So anyways, you did the exact same thing.
Which tells you it's the right move, I think.
Totally.
Like now that I look back at it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I go into the office and, you know, I think just like you get there and then you get acclimatized. I don't know what your Toronto experience was.
Horrible.
Yeah, horrible.
Horrible.
I had a good time, I think, there, but
because you're probably making money. I wasn't.
Yeah, I was doing okay.
Yeah.
I was doing okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I lived right downtown.
Yeah.
I
remember the apartment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know where we're going with this. Yeah, you did come over. But yeah, you know, I had a good time, but the way I explained it to people is that it was like going to the bar when you were young. Like it was fun while you were there, but when you come home, like to Calgary, like this is home.
Yep.
And you're kind of like, oh, that was fun, but geez, you know, can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning.
And when you went out there, that was kind of the heyday of big it was the start of the big agency thing. You know, CMAS, Blast Radius. There's probably a handful. I don't know how many are still around, but that was the thing. All of a sudden, there was these agencies that had hundreds of people, web designers and programmers and all of it, and it was a fast moving environment.
Oh man, like, you know, I brick walls, like you know, like cool hardwood floors.
Cool. This is like pre-cool. Like everyone talks about Google, and their workplace, but this is the beginning of it all.
In Canada for sure, I believe. And you know, I was just like, you know, I got to work on like world-class brands. Like it was like Nintendo of Europe. Like, you know, I could turn off that website right now if I wanted to, right? Like BMW, Aeroplan, like these were like
monsters.
Yep. And I was thinking and you know, the other side of it is that, you know, I didn't go to university, and Toronto was my university, right? So I look at my dad's 20 grand invested in an internet provider that, you know, he ultimately lost the money.
Yep.
That was my education.
Yep.
And then Toronto was me going away to school.
It makes sense, man.
Yeah.
And back then, were you involved in building the rooms, like building the infrastructure for these servers, or what were you doing?
So we rented space in data centers, and then we would buy the servers.
So nothing was on site; it was always using data centers.
Yeah, we'd use data centers downtown Toronto, and and just rack the servers. We'd buy them from Dell, and then put them in there and run the customers' websites on them, and away it goes, right?
Which I forgot. You know, for all the years that we've known each other, you forget all the different moves that you've made, and that sometimes our paths would cross in funny situations. Yeah. So you go to University of Blast Radius.
That's right. Yeah.
And how long were you there for? And then where did you get to?
I was there for about 3 years. 2 years. I was in Toronto, 2 and a bit, almost 3.
Yep.
And then what I did was I moved home. But, you know, just the internet company, Blast Radius, said, I don't care. You can move home. And so I worked from Calgary. And I did that for another year, working remote. And it worked awesome because I knew my team. Like I'd worked with these guys for 2 years already. Yep. And, you know, half our business was in Europe, and because we had an office in Amsterdam. Yep. So when I left, like they offered me to go to Amsterdam. They said, you know, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to go back to Calgary. And they're like, do you want to go to Amsterdam? And, you know, now like looking back, I should have gone to Amsterdam.
Wow. You and I might not be sitting here if you went to Amsterdam.
Exactly. But and then I decided to come home, but what was cool about it is I just put my stuff into storage out there, and I came home, and that was at Christmas time, and I met my wife.
Yep.
4 days later.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Like in January.
Huh.
And
so you're staying.
So I was staying, and that was it. And I sent for my stuff.
Yep.
And that was it. And then I worked remote for Blast for a good year and a half, 2 years maybe, something like that.
And then did you get poached somewhere else, or did you? But sorry.
Yeah. Let's go back to talk about Toronto.
Toronto for me was like, I lived in a super cool neighborhood, Bloor and Madison. Remember the Maddie pub?
Yeah. Yeah.
I lived on that street. So like literally 2 blocks away from the Madison pub.
Close to young and eligible.
Yeah, exactly. But I was young and broke.
Totally right.
So I went there and I was making $36,000. And this is in 2000. My rent it was a basement in a student kind of building. It was like an old school Victorian style, super cool building, but it was like residential. It was $900 a month for a 1-bedroom basement. So I'm making, you can do the math. I'm making 36.
Jeff, how did they do that?
$900 to live in this basement suite. So I couldn't do anything. So I had my motorcycle out there. So I would just ride my bike around.
My.
I'd go to Niagara Falls. I'd just cruise around the highways.
Nice though, right?
Yeah, I'd go to Muskoka.
Yeah.
But, Toronto was, the best thing about Toronto was I found the music scene. And that's why I started, once I found, growing up in Calgary was Rice, but going out there, there was more Rices.
Yeah.
And I found this character.
Chris Shepherd?
Definitely not that guy. I found this dude, Peter Bosco, and he had this website called GarageHouseMusic.com.
Okay.
And he was playing the music I love, lots of vocals. It was all house. And he had a couple of nights. So I would just, I had no friends. Nobody really liked the music I was into.
You had no friends.
Well, I went there with like 14 people. And
I guess.
they were like coworkers,
Yeah.
Great people, but they weren't into going out to find the music. So anyways, go find this great music, become like, this guy kind of gets to know me because I'm this dude that's always showing up at his parties. And then I started asking about his website. That was the best part. Then I found the record store in Toronto that I ordered all my wax from when I moved back to Calgary.
Yeah, yeah.
So it allowed me to really become a DJ, which was then I did that for a decade. So Toronto it's a special place and a special time, but as far as working for, the work side of things was horrible.
But do you find that when you come back from Toronto, it helped you with your DJing? You're like, oh yeah, I'm Jeff, I'm born and raised in Calgary, but just, spent some time out there in Toronto.
Yeah. The DJ thing for me was, I'd been working in the clubs a little bit before I went. So I had some ins.
Yeah.
So when I started it, but the thing that really got me into the DJ world was CalgarySoul.com.
Yes, right. That's right.
So GarageHouseMusic.com. I essentially asked the guy that started, I'm like, I want to do this in Calgary. He's like, yeah, man, go for it. I said, what should I call it? He's like, I don't know. So we batted around some ideas and we landed on Calgary Soul. And that website is the reason why I got to DJ in the city for a decade.
See, man, just do it. Like if you just want to do it, call them up. Be like, yeah, man, I want to do this.
Yep. But you got to have you have to have the passion to do it, but there has to be some underlying skill.
Oh yeah, of course.
But some people get caught up in that, like, well, just go do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't have gone and become a basketball player. Short, can't shoot. So but if I wanted to, if I said it, there's some dots there that I couldn't connect, so I'd never do it. But even you, like, technically you were able to see these things, like you're able to look at a server or figure out in reading magazines how to put it all together. So that's I don't know where that comes from. It surely wasn't at high school.
Pain, just pain, just reading, right? But
so you're Toronto, like, the way you put it was really interesting. Your university. Yeah. Was it perfect? Was it the perfect time? And it was exactly what you needed?
Yeah, it was exactly what I needed. I was young enough that it didn't matter what I did. Like, there was no risk to me.
Yeah.
I got to work with these great companies.
Yep.
I met a ton of people.
Yep.
And then I got to go home.
And do you think working with those big companies, like, I already know the answer, but how good was it for your resume?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, didn't go to university at that point. At that point, it didn't matter anymore.
Yep.
Right.
Totally.
And, so we got to jump back to what I want to talk about
okay,
Toronto.
go.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, go.
So I'm sitting in Toronto on Thanksgiving. It might have actually been, I don't know if it was Thanksgiving Monday or something.
Yeah.
And you call me up. Like, was it the day before? No, I think it was like the day of.
It was the day of.
Yeah. He's like, Dan, landed in Toronto, but you only had us, like, you were not even overnight.
No, I don't know what I can't remember what I was doing.
you were coming to that record shop to get stuff. Like I don't know where you were going though.
Oh yeah. I can't remember if I was going to a trip in New York, but it was like I was getting on a bus and I was doing an overnighter to New York to go visit Callie.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's Union Station was down the street is
Yeah.
where you were. Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember this vividly. I remember just like kind of getting up on a holiday, probably had some beers the night before, and phone rings and it's you.
And I had already gone back home. Like my Toronto experience was already done.
That's right. And you like got off a plane and you were like, hey, what's going on?
Yep.
And we were doing a big feed.
Yep. Yeah. You had a bunch of friends over. And,
yeah.
I don't know if you cooked the turkey or somebody else
did. I did. Yeah.
But yeah.
I love cooking.
And your condo overlooked,
Dundas.
Yeah.
Like Dundas Square.
Yep.
Yeah. Right by Eaton Center.
So random.
And it was just like, it was so fun, but I still remember like you probably know this better than me, but it's like your mom's like, you got a dinner, like a proper Thanksgiving,
totally.
right?
You got to think about this.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude. I flew in and I was going to go visit Callie and I was spending the day or the night or something. I think I was just flying in for the day and took the red eye bus down.
You did. Yeah.
But the record store was really close to your building.
But I think that right there, that is what is about. Well, actually, rewind. I actually thought I was being invited on the show as an athlete. I'm just kidding. No.
The only athletic picture I have of you is like in grade 7 with this like mop top hair down here and these like bright snowboarding clothes.
I know.
And that was you were an athlete back then.
Yeah, right. No, but I think that is, one thing I do have is Calgary, and for you to show up into town was like, it's probably not as exciting for other people, but like that story I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Like I just like, it was a piece of home,
Totally.
And
and
just even, just to talk about Calgary for a second, even when I would fly home for like a weekend or whatever, I would go drive 45 minutes to the mountains, look at them, turn around and go home. Like it was like you guys like, there's something special about this place, and all the people in it.
Totally. I think, and the crazy thing about that story was you and I, like after high school, we're just kind of around. We were just kind of around the same neighborhoods, around the same people. But we didn't see each other all the time.
Yeah.
And then work careers kind of take you in different paths. But literally, I know you're in Toronto.
Yeah.
And it's like a quick phone call to a like fellow Calgarian you grew up with. And it's like, yeah, man.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
I love it.
So random. So after you get home from Blast, did you go work? When do all these other little side projects start up?
Yeah. So I came home, worked for Blast for another year. And then, and I always had like the side hustle, right? I'm going to build, eSweeties, eSweeties.com, and that was going to be the new Lava Life. And, it was like, I was always,
you always had these things.
Yeah.
And they were always right there. They were just, whether it's like 2 years earlier or whatever it was, the technology wasn't there.
I know.
They were there. So like really, so eSweeties, it was an online dating.
Online
thing.
dating. Yeah.
And before there was online dating, before Lava Life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
you were right there.
I know. Like seriously. And another one, and this is funny. I always joke, but this is almost like the social project or whatever. It's I made Facebook before Facebook.
What was it called?
Toadfire.com.
Right.
And like it was a blog, right? And I remember like, and this is why it was great being in Toronto, because I developed it with a buddy out of Calgary, and someone called me up and they said, hey, we got this picture phone. And you remember like iPhones were just coming out. And so they gave me one so I could walk around, take pictures, put them on my website,
Crazy. But okay.
And that's it. Like, I let it go.
But for whatever reason, you're seeing like, for A, to think about an online dating site. When is this?
I was just lonely, Joe.
You're solving your own problems.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is like early days.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, and you want to create this online community pre-Facebook.
Yeah.
And then so these things lurking in your brain.
Oh, and then there was like a job site I wanted to build. And, like.
Yep. But you're doing these things on the side.
Yeah.
You have a full-time job.
Yep.
And these, every time I would talk to you, there's always something being built in the background, even to this day.
even right now,
there's something being built in the background.
Yeah.
So you got these things going on. You're back home, and then where's the path going?
Yeah, and at this point, I just figured I have to exit Blast Radius because I'm too far out now. It's like a year or 2 years. Even though my team is great, as soon as there's one downturn, who's going to get let go?
Yep.
It's the guy that's not in the office, right?
Yep.
So, and I had some relationships with a company called Zentra here in Calgary,
right.
And they asked me to come build their services team,
Yep.
their technical services team.
Yep.
And so I did that, and that is where I found a little bit of a passion for like building a team. Like,
Yep.
honestly, I truly believe we built the best team in the city. It was just like, we had so much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that, today, and we'll fast forward later, but I'm doing it again. Now I'm building like the best team.
But it's really your team.
Now it's mine. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
So and this is where you and I we're similar in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially, you got all this experience working for some of the biggest players, from Sport Check to Blast to Zentra.
Yep.
Like big players in their spaces.
Yeah.
And you figured out everything you needed to.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like university version 1, 2, and 3. And then what? And then
I mean, I got to stop you there, but like that's really kind of you to say, but yeah, I'm not that clever. I think I was just fumbling through it, right?
But looking back at it.
Oh yeah. Now looking back, I was just lucky. Like I am also a very lucky person.
Yep.
Like, so what happened was with Zentra, it was a pure IT play, big storage,
Yep.
oil companies, big
Yep.
data, AHS, like those kind of guys. And, we got acquired by the Herjavec Group.
Yep.
So Shark Tank guy.
Yep.
Right.
That guy.
Yeah. And, so how exciting though, right? Now it's like another thing you get to learn. And, I got to see some really cool stuff. And now like talking about building companies at scale.
Yep.
And, when you go back to like, talking about university and things like that, I think they should start telling kids in school, like, sales is a real job.
Yep.
Like that's a real job and it really pays if you're good at it.
Yep.
Right. So
Totally.
I think that's what I learned a lot at Zentra.
And cool to learn on somebody else's dime too. And to, for me, the reason I said that you and I have done something very similar, when I got to work at OJ's, I got to play at a big scale,
That's
right? You take all these ideas you have, whether it's building a team or infrastructure or solutions, and you get to build it out. And then if you have that itch that you want to scratch to do your own thing, you have all this experience to draw on, and you can't learn that at school.
No, you can't. And Guy Kawasaki?
Yep.
So he wrote a book called The Art of the Start. Right in there, it says like you can be an entrepreneur inside the company. Like you can build a division inside the company if it makes sense, right? And just as you're saying, you gather all this information. Maybe you build it for them. Maybe you take it somewhere else and build it yourself.
Yep.
Or for another company even.
Totally.
Right.
So when you decide to leave, was Zentra a force out? Did you decide, or was that your like, this is your moment? All these things have led you to this point. Now it's time to do something.
So we were acquired by the Herjavec Group, and I became a director of data center for Canada. And so how even better, now I get to fly to Toronto, business class.
Yep.
Right?
You're like, now you peaked again.
Yeah, but and I'm like, this is great, but that's old. Like and then culturally it wasn't a fit. It wasn't who I was.
Yep.
But great to be able to go back to Toronto and visit some friends, right, on someone else's dime. And I had a great time doing it. But at that point, this is where I saw, hey, hold on, cloud, man. Cloud, something's happening here. And this is like 10 years ago.
It's early.
Super premature.
You're early
man.
again.
Yeah, totally.
Like you're early again.
I'm early again.
Okay.
And so I actually convinced the VP of sales to leave with me from Herjavec.
Yep.
And we started a company called Shelter 6. And what we did is we moved workloads, like we moved on-premise stuff to AWS.
Rooms full of boxes.
Yeah.
Servers, hardware.
Yeah.
And you took them and
lift and shift. So
put them up in the cloud.
Yep.
And
totally failed.
And this okay. And the cloud back then was still a very foreign subject to a lot of people.
Very much.
But
so.
the cloud back then was like a dark science that nobody knew anything about.
10 years. That was 10 years ago. AWS was around.
Yep.
Azure was a baby.
Yep.
Google Cloud was
Nothing.
Just starting. Yep. I shouldn't say just starting, but just wasn't getting the traction.
Yep.
So we did that, and we did that for a couple of years, and we were really fortunate enough that, you know, some guys we worked with at Zentra that ran our Ottawa branch, they were starting a company, or they had started a company called Decisive, and they had their own private Canadian cloud called Bright Sky.
Gotcha.
They reached out, acquired us, then we became working for Bright Sky Decisive, which it's important for me to tell that story, because then we were kind of brought back into our original game of selling hardware.
Yep.
And that's when I left them, I named my company Everything Cloud as a way of saying we don't sell hardware.
Yep.
And that was my way of burning the boats. Like, I'm on the island now, I burn the boats, Everything Cloud. Don't call me if you're looking for a router.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And you know, if I jump even a little farther back to my parents in the hardware game, I think I was always afraid of that.
Because you saw.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw the margins erode.
Yep.
And I saw the money get hard.
Yep.
And the other thing is when you sell hardware, people stiff you.
Yep.
Right. They buy it, you give it to them, then they disappear.
Yep.
Right. But at least if you're offering services, you know, you're only out your time, which still hurts, but not like when you have to pay a supplier.
Yep.
So
interesting. So Everything Cloud spins up. How long has it been now?
It'll be 6 years this September.
Crazy. I wouldn't have guessed it was that long.
Me either.
And now that you're back doing your own thing, it feels like this is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's just everything you've done, all the moves you've made. This is it.
No.
This you don't have it. There's no it for
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
But this is definitely. It feels very natural.
Yeah.
It's kind of everything that, from the minute you walked into that computer store of your parents, like, it's just it all maps to this.
Yeah.
And the cool thing now is for the cloud stuff, and again, I don't know shit about it, but it's so topical right now. Like, it's just it's where this world is going right now, and honestly, again, you're right here. You're like at the cutting edge of it.
Like, you know, you hate to say it, but it's like, from a COVID perspective, when now everyone's like working from home, we don't want to have servers in the office. Let's get this stuff out to the cloud. I mean, there is so much of that. So very fortunate. Like, so for, you know, I feel like in this interview, I feel like I'm talking about myself all the time.
Dude,
I hope it's not.
Here's I'm gonna let you in a little secret.
Yeah.
The whole reason I do this, because I don't like talking. So I just put people in front of me, ask them 3 questions, and then I have a bunch of content. So so you're doing perfect. So keep going.
Yeah. Perfect. But so you know, we have the cloud, and it's truly the perfect time for it. Now, you know, the workloads, and I'm not going to geek out on you, but it's changed. Lift and shift doesn't work.
Yep.
And then it was like, well, what applications should go there? So, you know, what they call them, you know, workloads. What workloads should we put in the cloud?
Yep.
So that sort of worked, but now it's all about containerization and how do we build our applications to work in the cloud? Mm-hmm. And that's you know, not where we are. That's where we recently have been.
Yep.
And so this is where, with Everything Cloud, sure, we do those things, and we have departments that do the services and do implementations and stuff.
Yep.
But I think what jazzes me the most is cloud optimization and cloud cost optimization, because the truth is, people are just throwing stuff up there, and pretty soon it gets pretty expensive.
Yep.
Right. And so for the first time, I feel that the offering that we're bringing, I know this sounds so salesy, but it's not. I'm not selling anything. I just want to help you save some money.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yep.
Like, and so if I can't save you more than what you're paying me, it doesn't matter. Easy. It doesn't work.
Yep.
You know,
it's so cool, man. So, what do you think? What is this, you know, this is interesting. Obviously, me starting my own thing 18 months ago, whenever this thing airs, you know, you're at a point right now. What's the most exciting thing about owning your own business right now? And what is the most exciting thing that
you know, I think there's many, but people is probably number one.
Like, you enjoy, like you've already said it, but you like the team piece?
Yeah, team. Like, that's it. I mean, honestly, you know, I'll probably get to the point where I'll probably, you know, build it to a team, and then like that'll be my social life.
Yeah.
Right. Like go to work, and that's like your social life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would say there's that, but I'm a total dreamer. So
Yeah, I picked up on that one.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the best thing about working for yourself.
Yep.
Is you work for someone else, you can dream. But
Yep.
when you work for yourself and dream, you can go in tomorrow and do that.
Yep.
As long as you're being like fiscal responsible to your team and
Yep.
you know, making sure they're paid.
Do you minor details?
Minor details.
Do you have the next dream? If it's not like, you know, if you're not thinking about making, you know, the dating thing's probably done. Facebook you're not going to do.
It is for me anyway.
Hosting's probably done. So like,
yeah.
Do you're seeing these things?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just because you're watching things happen, you come up with ideas, or do you see an idea that you can do better, or like, where's it coming? Like, you say you're a dreamer, so I know you're going to come up with something crazy in the next 10 years. Like,
yeah.
How does it happen?
You're gonna start a podcast. No, just kidding. No,
dude, you're supposed to start one 4 years ago, and you almost did.
That's true. No, I'm just kidding. But I think I already am on the next thing, right? Because you know, we started a cloud company and we were just doing services, putting people there, managing them, securing them, and now it's like, no, we have to help them save the money. And you know, I know I've used this analogy. I don't know if I used it with you, but you know, when you go into a high-rise building downtown and you walk down a hallway on a Saturday, it's dark.
Yep.
But as you walk down the hallway, it's like all the lights start turning on as you walk down.
Yep.
That's what the cloud has to do for you.
Gotcha.
Right? You shouldn't be paying for it until you need it. And as soon as you need it, it turns on, you use the light.
Yep.
And when you don't need it anymore, it turns off. Right? So that is already the next thing.
Because most companies that offer this service are just literally, you're paying for it all the time. You're using a bunch of storage and they're just charging you a flat rate based on storage. Mm-hmm. Whether you access it or not, it's just being charged.
Exactly.
The evolution of this is essentially smart optimized.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Like a lot of the big players have this ability too. But or if you want, you could script it yourself. But
it's the next thing.
Yeah.
And then eventually it's going to trickle down to guys like me that use it for a small business.
Exactly. Right. So you just spin it up, spin it down. And more importantly, it's giving you intelligence of saying, hey, Jeff, you know what? I noticed this server might be a dev server, just based on what we're seeing from like machine learning.
Yep.
Right. And, you know, send you an email and say, hey, maybe you should turn this off. Because if you do the math, if this is truly just a development server and it can be turned off at 6 o'clock at night and spun back up at 7 in the morning and turned off on Saturday and Sunday, it's like 70-something% savings.
Yep.
Like, come on. Right. So I don't know what the next thing is after that though.
But do you ever think like that? Do you ever think what's next? Or you just all of a sudden have a moment, you're like, oh, this is what's next.
The problem is I'm sitting here right now and I'm listening to you and I'm going, what is next? I got to get busy. And you know what? But maybe I need to be more careful because that's probably why all these things never hit. Because I'm jumping too fast.
Yeah. Well, there's obviously a pattern. And the pattern's like, you know exactly where to go. And then for whatever reason, you get sidetracked or whatever, like something happens and they're just right there all the time. Mm-hmm. Everything cloud seems like it's well on its way to being like, it'll be completed.
Yeah.
It might
it better.
From the outside looking in, everything cloud looks like it's going to be the one that is completed and becomes the thing. So
yeah, it is. It's like I have customers that joke about like you don't even have a website. I'm like, yeah, I've had like 15 of them, but
crazy. Let's put a bow on the sucker. You and I could talk. Well, we could tell stories about nothing for a long time, but this was really fun. The way I like to end the show is obviously it's called the Calgary Sessions. Mm-hmm. The only canned question that I give a guest before they sit down is this, and you know the question is when I say Calgary, where's your head go? So. Where's your head go?
Well, we talked about it a lot, you know, like almost from a Toronto's perspective. You know, oh man, you know, I would say home, but I don't want to use that one because I think everyone says that lives here, right? Yep. This is home, you know. Proud is probably more. I think I'm like super proud to be Calgarian. Yep. I'm proud of the stuff we do here. I don't know if you were like this, but even in Toronto, I took every opportunity to tell people where I'm from. Every time. I was like, I'm from Calgary. I'm from Calgary. And I think I'm proud because I think that in Calgary, you can have oil executives that are wearing jeans on a Tuesday in the office downtown, driving a pickup truck, making millions.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Rig guys making good money, sitting down with tech guys that they went to school with or whatever, just no pretension, right? Like, there's no class system, right?
It just all comes together.
Yeah. And so I think proud. That's probably the thing I would do.
That's cool, man. You're right, though. We kind of talked about Calgary a lot during this episode because we're both super passionate about this place.
Yeah.
It's, I've said it a couple times, but it's everything to me, right? It's allowed me to do everything I've wanted to do, and it's going to allow me to keep doing the things I want to do. So
absolutely,
we're lucky.
And we're lucky. You can leave and go do things.
Yep.
But I'll always come home.
Totally.
I don't know if I'll live anywhere, but.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Thanks for making the time.
I appreciate it.
I'll link up because your company's so interesting, and there's definitely people that know nothing about cloud, but they could leverage it completely. So anyways, I'll link you up in the bio and stuff. But thanks again. It was super fun.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.